Hello dear students, very warm welcome. Today we're going to revise the chapter Electoral Politics. That is chapter number 3 of Political Science. And in this chapter we're going to discuss few important questions also. The questions which can be asked in your exam and very important and related to the concept of this chapter. First of all, as you can understand with the name itself, electoral politics. So what we mean by election first? If someone asks you what is election, so election is a contest between the political parties and the candidates. There may be candidates who are contesting the election independently, individually. So election is a contest between the political parties and the candidates. And why they contest election? First of all, why they contest election? Why any candidate or political parties contest election? Because they want to get the support of the people. So in order to get the support of the people, they contest the election. So therefore, how can you define the election? The term election? Election is a contest between political parties and the candidates in order to get the support of the people. That's what we mean election. Now next, how many types of elections are there? So there are 3 types of election, everyone. General election, by-election, midterm election. Now what do you mean by general election? Elections which are held for all constituencies of the assembly at the same time. So at the same time, for all the constituencies, if the election is held, the election may be like for all the constituency, maybe on the same day or maybe in the phases within a few days. So this kind of election is known as general election. So at a regular interval, when elections are held for all the constituencies combinedly, those elections are known as general elections. Simple. Now, second, by-election. This is another type of example, by-election. Now, what do you mean by by-election? Fresh election in a particular constituency or constituencies due to vacant of seats. So, suppose there are like a few seats due to resignation or due to retirement or due to some other unavoidable circumstances, few seats or few constituencies have become vacant. So to just specific those seats, to specifically conducting election for only vacant seats. So if this kind of election happens, that is known as by-election. So by-election क्या होता है? अगर fresh election conduct करवाया जाता है किसी specific constituency में, एक constituency हो सकती है, 2 हो सकती है, 10 हो सकती है, 15 हो सकती है. क्यों? क्योंकि हो सकता है कि वहां से जो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव जो पहले इलेक्ट हुआ था शायद उसने रिजाइन कर दिया या मे बी सम लाइक फेल इल और लाइक ड्यू टू डेथ वो सीट वेकेंट हो गई है. सो टू फिल दैट इलेक्शन कंडक्ट करवाए जाते हैं और उन्हीं इलेक्शन को आप क्या बोलते हो? यू कॉल देम बाय इलेक्शन. Now dear students, let us come to third types of election. Third type of election is midterm election. As you can understand with the name itself, midterm. So before completing the term, if the legislative assembly or the Lok Sabha gets dissolved, and then if the election happens for all the constituencies together, that is known as midterm election. Very simple. So if the Lok Sabha or legislative assembly gets dissolved before the completion of its full term, means it has not completed its term. And what is the term? Here in India, we have 5 years term. You know? The representatives are elected for 5 years. So before completing the terms, if the assembly or the parliament gets dissolved, then we can say that midterm elections are conducted for that. Okay. So this is third type of election. So therefore now you all know that there are 3 types of election: general election, by-election, midterm election. Now, sir, the election is conducted in an area. So what that geographical area is known? That geographical area is known as constituency. Now, you must understand the meaning of the constituency in political science. Constituency simply means the country is divided into many fixed areas, many election areas specifically, okay, with the body of registered voters there in those election areas. So those election areas are known as constituencies. So a particular election area is known as constituency. So I hope that now this term is also clear to you what you mean by constituency. So you know, in India, in Lok Sabha, the total geographical area of India is divided into 543 constituencies. Means 543 इलेक्शन एरिया में पूरे इंडिया को डिवाइड कर दिया. अब 543 क्या रिप्रेजेंटेटिव इलेक्ट होंगे कहां पे? लोकसभा के अंदर. तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी किसे कहते हैं? इलेक्शन एरिया को कहते हैं कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी. और उन इलेक्शन एरिया में वहां के रजिस्टर्ड वोटर्स होते हैं. देयर आर वोटर्स हु आर रजिस्टर्ड इन दोज इलेक्शन एरियाज. ओके, एंड दीज रजिस्टर्ड वोटर्स इन दोज कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज, उनके लिए एक लिस्ट प्रिपेयर की जाती है, भाई यहां से कौन कौन रजिस्टर्ड है, और उसी लिस्ट को बोला जाता है वोटर्स लिस्ट. So what is voters list? That is your next term. What do you mean by voters list? The list of those persons who are eligible to vote in an election from a constituency is known as electoral roll, and that list is known as voters list also. Electoral roll or voter list, both are same. Now, so that list, जो list है जिसमें एक पर्टिकुलर कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी से, एक पर्टिकुलर एरिया से कितने वोटर्स जो वहां से रजिस्टर्ड वोटर्स हैं, तो उस लिस्ट को आप क्या कह रहे हो? यू आर कॉलिंग दैट वोटर्स लिस्ट. इन आवर इंडिया वी हैव रिजर्व्ड कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज आल्सो. सीट्स, जिसको पॉपुलरली हम कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी को ही सीट बोलते हैं, तो सीट जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज हैं एससी एंड एसटी के लिए लोकसभा में रिजर्व्ड है सीट्स. जैसे आउट ऑफ टोटल 543 कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज इन लोकसभा, 84 कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज रिजर्व्ड हैं एससी के लिए, शेड्यूल्ड कास्ट के लिए, एंड 47 कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज आर रिजर्व्ड फॉर एसटी, शेड्यूल्ड ट्राइब. अब सर ये रिजर्व कौन करता है सीट्स को? एससी के लिए इतनी सीट्स रिजर्व्ड होंगी, एसटी के लिए इतनी सीट्स रिजर्व्ड होंगी, या कौन सी सीट्स रिजर्व्ड होंगी? तो इट इज डिसाइडेड बाय अ कमीशन, एंड दैट कमीशन इज नोन एज delimitation commission. Okay, so the boundaries of the constituencies are decided by the delimitation commission. Now next, election commission of India, ECI. Now what do you mean by election commission of India? Election commission of India is an independent body to ensure free and fair elections in the country. So there is a separate body, एक independent body होती है जिसका मेन वर्क होता है देश में फ्री एंड फेयर मैनर में इलेक्शन कंडक्ट करवाना. और वो जो इंडिपेंडेंट बॉडी है दैट इज नोन एज इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया. सो इन इंडिया हमारे यहाँ पे वो एक बॉडी जो इलेक्शन कंडक्ट करवाती है फ्री फेयर मैनर में, वो कौन है? ECI, इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया. ओके, नाउ फ्यू अदर टर्म्स ऑफ दिस चैप्टर, वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग टर्म्स. लेट अस गो थ्रू them also. Now dear students, few other terms of this chapter which you need to understand of electoral politics. Nomination paper. Now what do you mean by nomination paper? So if you want to contest election, if any person wants to contest election, like as you know that if you need to contest, if you need to you are giving a particular entrance examination, or you are giving CBSE board examination, you need to fill the application form, and in that you provide the complete information about you. So in the same manner, if any person wants to contest election, he or she has to provide certain information. He or she has to first fill the nomination paper. So a document is filled by the political person who wants to contest election. That document which is filled is known as nomination paper, in which complete information is provided about the candidate. Security deposit. So as the nomination paper is filed, sum of security deposit is also deposited. So the sum of money that a candidate who wants to contest election required to deposit to an electoral authority, so that sum of money is known as security deposit. So what do you mean by security deposit? The sum of money that a candidate who wants to contest election required to deposit. And required to deposit to whom? To an election authority. Okay. Now next term, and it is also very interesting term, very important term, model code of conduct. Now, what do you mean by model code of conduct? A set of rules which have to be followed by the political parties and the candidates during the election. Those set of norms, set of rules are known as model code of conduct. Okay. And it is supervised by the Election Commission of India. During the election, each candidate who wants to contest election, they have to follow the model code of conduct, in which it is like many norms are given there, that what kind of behavior must be adopted by a candidate, you know? What are the things which cannot be done by the candidate or the political party during the election? What are the things which cannot be done even by the government during the election? Next term of this chapter is manifesto. Now, what do you mean by manifesto? A visionary document published by the political parties before the election. So, you know, many times, many political parties or the individual candidate, they all just come to the voters and they ask for votes, that give us votes, and they like make promises also. But when the promises are written in a shape of documents, a promissory document or visionary document published by political party before the election, so that visionary document is known as manifesto. Okay, so suppose if the elections are going to be happen, अगर election होने वाले हैं, तो उससे पहले चाहे कोई भी political party हो, वो अपना एक visionary document लाएगी, that वोटर्स जो है हमें वोट कीजिए, अगर हम गवर्नमेंट में आते हैं, दोबारा आते हैं, री-इलेक्ट होते हैं, इलेक्ट करते हो आप हमें, then we will implement these programs and policies and all. तो वो जो विजनरी डॉक्यूमेंट उन्होंने इलेक्शन से पहले रखा है, उस विजनरी डॉक्यूमेंट को ही आप क्या बोलते हो? मैनिफेस्टो. ओके, नाउ नेक्स्ट टॉपिक एंड दैट इज इलेक्शन कैंपेन. नाउ व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय इलेक्शन कैंपेन? A process of democratic activities by which political parties and candidates reach out to the voters to get their support by organizing public rallies and publicizing their visions through various means. So the process in which democratic activities takes place, कि वो प्रोसेस जिसमें डेमोक्रेटिक एक्टिविटीज, इलेक्शन के टाइम पीरियड में क्या होता है, आपने देखा होगा इलेक्शन के टाइम पीरियड में लीडर्स, बड़े बड़े लीडर्स रैलीज ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं, पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज रैलीज ऑर्गेनाइज करती हैं, है ना, टू पब्लिसाइज देयर व्यूज सो दैट पीपल कैन वोट देम, पीपल कैन सपोर्ट देम बाय डिफरेंट मींस दे डू दिस. So that time period during that this happens, so this complete process is known as election campaign. Okay, so if someone asks you what is election campaign, what you will say? A process of what? Democratic activities by whom? By political parties and the candidates. And to do what are their objectives of following or doing these democratic activities? To reaching the voters so that they can get the support of the voters, by rallies or by publishing their visions through different means. Next term is incumbent. Now, what do you mean by incumbent? So the current holder of a political office is known as incumbent. Means suppose पहले से ही कोई एक MP है, मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंटेरियन है या मिनिस्टर है, ठीक है, अगर वो कॉन्टेस्ट कर रहे हैं इलेक्शन, तो वो क्या होंगे उस इलेक्शन के दौरान? इनकम्बेंट, बिकॉज दे आर ट्राइंग टू प्रोटेक्ट देयर जो करंट ऑफिस, वो अभी क्योंकि करंट होल्डर है उस पॉलिटिकल ऑफिस के, सो देयरफॉर दे आर नोन एज इनकम्बेंट. नाउ नेक्स्ट टर्म ऑफ दिस चैप्टर इज टर्न आउट. नाउ व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय टर्न आउट? That out of total registered voters in a particular constituency, how much percentage of voters have casted their votes? Suppose जैसे 100 टोटल रजिस्टर्ड वोटर हैं किसी एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी में, वहां 100 रजिस्टर्ड वोटर में से 70 वोटर्स ने अपना वोट कास्ट किया है, तो टर्नआउट कितना हो गया? 70%. So the number of percentage of voters who have casted their votes in an election is known as turnout. ठीक है, it's that simple. Now next question comes that what makes an election democratic? किसी भी इलेक्शन को डेमोक्रेसी आप कैसे कह सकते हो? that election is free and fair and that election is democratic election. So these conditions must be fulfilled by an election. And what are these? First, one person, one vote, one value. Now what do you mean by this one person, one vote, one value? To elect the representative, everyone must have one vote with equal value. कि आपको जो अगर अपना रिप्रेजेंटेटिव इलेक्ट करना है, तो उस पर्टिकुलर कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी में देयर आर रजिस्टर्ड वोटर्स हु विल बी कास्टिंग देयर वोट. द वैल्यू ऑफ ईच वोट इज इक्वल. It simply means one person, one vote, one value. It is not like अगर कोई बहुत ज्यादा रिच है, अल्ट्रा रिच है, उसका एक वोट तो 10,000 के अकॉर्डिंग या 1 लाख के इज इक्वल टू काउंट होगा, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. One person, one vote, one value simply means that everyone must have one vote with equal value. So this must be the condition of an election. If it is there, then you can say that election is free and fair, and election is democratic election. Okay. Now, second condition is right to contest election. That everyone must have right to contest election. And in India mein, everyone can form the political party and contest election. So political parties and candidates, whether individuals, all should have right to contest election. Okay. This is another example, another condition which must be fulfilled if we need to say that election follows the democratic values. Then third is regular election. This is also very important, that there should be regular elections in every democratic country, so that people can have their choice at regular interval. You know, in India, after every 5 years, elections are held. It is not like that if someone has become prime minister or chief minister, now the election will not happen again. No. Then how can we say that democracy is there? Election is not done for only once for whole life, because we follow that at a regular interval, people must be given choice so that they can re-elect the government or they can change the government. It's totally up to the people. Therefore, the power lies in the hands of the people. So there must be regular elections. Okay. There should be regular elections in every democratic country so that people have their choice at regular intervals. Now, free and fair elections. That is next topic. So in order to ensure a fair chance to the people, there should be free and fair election in every democratic country. People without any threat, without any fear, they can cast their vote. And there must be a proper supervision of the election. So the election must be conducted in a free and fair manner. This is the next condition. And the candidate preferred by the people should get elected. Okay, these are the conditions. If these conditions are fulfilled, then you can say that election is a democratic election. Otherwise, election is not democratic if these conditions are not fulfilled. One person, one vote, one value, right to contest election, regular elections, free and fair elections. It must be, these must be conditions of a democratic election. So these things make an election democratic election. Universal adult franchise. This is the next term. Now, what do you mean by universal adult franchise? Right to vote. Right to vote to the citizens who have 18 years or above 18-year age group, irrespective of their caste, irrespective of their creed, irrespective of their gender, religion. All the people are given right to vote. So this right, this is generally accepted phenomena, the age 18 year, that after 18 year, a person can take decision wisely. So therefore, everyone must be provided right to vote irrespective of anything. So this is known as universal adult franchise, right to vote irrespective of caste, creed, religion at the age of 18. Free and fair election. Now, what do you mean by that? People participate in the electoral process and give votes according to their choices. The people are free to contest elections and candidates preferred by the people are get elected. So that's how you can say that election is free and fair. That people have the right to contest election and the whomsoever people elect, they are elected in a free and fair manner. Now in India, you know, these days we follow EVM, that is electronic voting machine. Now what is electronic voting machine? It is a machine that shows the names of the candidates and the party symbol. The machine is used to record the votes. Earlier, there used to be elections on the basis of ballot papers, but now the elections are held in India with EVM. So on EVM, a list is like there in which the name of the candidate and their symbol, party symbol is also represented. Voters can go inside and then they can just press the button. Whomsoever they want to give vote, they can press the button which is at the side of the name and the symbol of the party of the candidate. Now, what is the process of election in India? So first of all, voters list is prepared by the Election Commission of India. Election schedule is announced by the ECI, Election Commission of India. This is the next step. Then what happens next? Political parties then nominate their candidate, that who gonna contest from which constituency. It is decided by the political parties, and the candidate just fill the nomination papers and deposit sum of money. Nomination form is filled by the candidate. Withdrawal of the nomination. Final list of the candidate is prepared. Then what happens? Election campaign happen. That also we discussed. What do you mean by election campaign? In which rallies are organized by the political parties and the candidates. Then voting is done on the scheduled date, which already decided by the Election Commission of India. Then counting happens on the already fixed date, and at last announcement of the result of the election. So this is the complete process of the election. So from the beginning, when the voters list is prepared, and at last how the announcement of the result happens in a constituency. So these all things are supervised by ECI, that is Election Commission of India. Now there are few questions also, everyone, like what we have discussed so far. What provisions are there in Model Code of Conduct? So as we discussed, that Model Code of Conduct has certain norms which have to be followed by the political parties and the candidates. Now what are those norms? So bribe, no party or no candidate can threaten or bribe any voter. No party or no candidate can appeal to them in the name of caste or religion. No party or no candidate can use government resources for their election campaigning. And the party and the candidate cannot spend more than 25 lakhs in a constituency for the Lok Sabha elections, or 10 lakh rupee in the constituency of assembly election. And now no one can use the money and the muscle power in the election. Government cannot announce new schemes or programs during the election. These are the norms which are there in the MCC, that is Model Code of Conduct. So the Model Code of Conduct is there to hold the election in a free and fair manner. Now describe the procedure of voting on the polling day. As you all know, we also discussed it, that on the election day, eligible voters go to the nearest polling booth, and a mark is put on the finger of the voter who vote as an identification mark, so as to avoid any person voting more than once. Now, currently EVMs, electronic voting machines, are used in our country to record votes. A voter presses the button against the name and the symbol of the candidate, whomsoever he or she wants to give the vote. So that's how the voting process happens. So everyone, this is all about this chapter. Very interesting chapter this is. Next, we're going to discuss in our next class, all of you.